come here. I want to show you something. These were some of the first Meta ads creative I helped to make over 10 years ago, right? And it's crazy because back then I had to hire photographers, videographers, even models to help with bringing these ad concepts to life. And you really don't have to do that anymore in 2025. Oftentimes, content shot on your iPhone works a lot better than these huge setups that I used to pay thousands of dollars for. Now, if we haven't met, first of all, thank you so much for being here. My name is Dara Denny, and I've spent over $100 million on Meta ads. I've worked in this industry for over a decade, and I have worked with some of the top direct-to-consumer brands on their creative strategy. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to make Meta ads creative that converts, even if you're wildly unqualified or you're cheap as hell. I'm even going to break down a few of my creatives for you step by step. This is a safe space. We are all beginners at some point, and because I want to help you out a little bit more one-on-one, be sure to leave me a comment with your brand or industry, and I will personally suggest an ad creative for you to make. All right, let's get into this thing. Now, the first thing that you're going to need to understand are the actual types of Meta ads creatives that you can make. And we're going to keep this really simple, dividing it between images or static content or your video content. And yes, you could create carousels, but to be honest, this is not a really good place to start. And I would say yes, many brands when they're first starting off will just start off with statics. However, video content has become so easy to produce over the last few years, and it's really what's powering these social media platforms. So I'd say that regardless, you're gonna have to test a few formats if you're just getting started out on Meta ads, so already get in that testing mindset. But let's first look at some specific image format that tends to work really, really well on Meta, but is incredibly easy to make and make personally. Number one is the benefit call out ads. I have been talking about this ad creative type for years at this point, and for good reason. This is something that is tried, true, and proven. Ogilvy even ran these type of ads in the print era. And what's really interesting is that he said he actually ran psychological tests in the 50s and 60s on this type of ad, and that the recall rate on the specific benefits and features that were shown here were actually ranked higher than in any other format. So this is why users, when they see this even on their social media feeds, they tend to absorb that information a little bit more deeply. In the next image format I want to talk about is, of course, the us versus them. If you have even dipped your toe into Meta ads creative strategy, then you have definitely heard of this one. And candidly, for good reason. This is something that really does convert well for many brands. And I will be honest, oftentimes when I am working with a brand new business, oftentimes this will be their first top performing creative. So this is one that you should absolutely test out. In fact, I am working with a brand that is getting ready to launch in the US for the first time. And this is something that we have on their must test list. And I know what you must be thinking. Oh, is it legal to directly compare yourself to a competitor and have their logo and name right there? Honestly, jury's out on that one. It's not illegal, but is it the right thing to do? I've definitely done it with some ad creative, but I've only done it in very specific instances. Now, what I will say is you can do this type of ad comparing to a broader, more generalized them, like in some of these examples. So if you're not super comfortable with, calling out Starbucks or some other big company or organization, do something more like this. And next up, we of course have ugly ads. Now, there are many different types of ugly ads, but one of the most popular is the simple Post-it note ad. Now, where the magic really happens with these Post-it note ads obviously lies in the specific messaging that you're using here. So if you are trying to reach a net new audience, then definitely leaning into the type of problem that your users are really facing can help out a lot here with the targeting. In Meta ads, we have this phrase that the creative does the targeting, and this is absolutely the case. So one of the big learnings that you're going to have is the more that you can talk about and agitate a consumer's problem, the more that you are going to see performance and really find your core customers utilizing this platform. Now, another strategy that you can have that I see oftentimes with Meta ads is by featuring an offer on these Post-it notes. And of course, this is something that absolutely works really well. But if you're a new brand or business and you're just starting off, this isn't going to be the best way to actually get your customers, because people aren't going to be that attracted to a dollar value offer without knowing understanding what your product can actually do for them. Now, next up, let's talk about video. Now, there are 3 formats that are super, super easy to make, I'd say, and are also quite affordable. Number 1 is going to be your ugly ads video, or a one-shot, one-take, which can be a review or can even be more of a point of view shot. I've seen these work really, really well, and they take next to no skill or cash flow to create. Another one that I'm going to go more in depth on a little bit later in this video is a founder's ad. And this is something that, especially if you are the founder who is doing it all, this is a great ad format to start. And honestly, you just need a little bit of guidance in the type of things that you want to talk about for it to actually make an impact and start converting. So be sure to stay closer to the end where I go into that one more in depth. Now, the final type of video creative that I want to talk about is, of course, your creator content. Now, sometimes this can be really affordable. You can find creators on Fiverr, on Incense, on Coley. But to be honest, this can start racking up pretty quickly. And there is no set standard of what these creators are charging. So while yes, it's not going to be as expensive as what I used to do 10 years ago, hiring models, hiring photographers, videographers, even sometimes art directors, it was wild. It still can be a lot more affordable than that. It could range anywhere from $100 to $500 to get a pretty decent video. Now, I know what you are probably thinking at this point, right? Wow, it seems like the onus is on me to either shoot or make this type of content, right? Now, if this is something that you feel like you can't do, or you're intimidated by the use of AI creative, which I totally understand, then stock footage is something that I have seen success with, especially in the early days. And my hack here is to actually combine it with native text overlay. So when I say native text overlay, I mean like the fonts that you use in Instagram stories or even on TikTok or CapCut. Being able to combine stock footage with something that feels a little bit more social media first takes away that stock footage feeling. For my stock footage, I use Storyblocks. They are a longtime friend of this channel, and they are also sponsoring today's video. They have millions of instant video clips, images, and templates. And when I'm trying to find the right images and video for social media ads particularly, I try to look for ones that don't look like they were a professional studio shoot, which is why I really love their new restock collections that are actually inspired more by the human experience. For instance, say that I was marketing a new neck cream. I could test something like this, which was use the footage from Storyblocks. And the best part is it's all 100% legal to use on ads, unlike a lot of AI solutions. To get unlimited downloads for one flat rate, check out Storyblocks at storyblocks.com/DaraDenny or click the link in the description. Okay, now you have all of these options for ad creatives to make, right? Which ones do you try first? And I'm gonna be really blunt about this because you have to learn it early and really absorb it. There is not a single ad creative that is going to be a silver bullet for you. You are gonna continually have to test. And I'd say if you are just starting off, like it is your first time getting into Ads Manager, it is your first time making meta ads creative, I would start off by testing up to 10 different ads. Maybe select 4 different formats and you can change out some of the elements or some of the text overlay on it. But you are really going to have to test a lot to truly understand what is going to attract and also convert your customers. And then another question that you're probably going to have is, should I make these myself or should I hire someone? Now, there are a ton of options, and I'd say in the beginning, I do think it's really, really important that you try to make some of these yourself, especially if you are on that shoestring budget. Nearly all of these can be made for a very small fractional price, even a number of the image statics. These are things that I've been able to make myself on a $12 subscription in Canva. But if you're eager to have someone make these for you, be sure that you have example ads of what you want to be created and the right copy to pair with it. And then you could easily find someone on Fiverr, for instance. Or my favorite way to find new people to collaborate with creative on is through other founders, which is why I'm a huge fan of the Foxwell Founders Group. I am constantly asking people there if they have recommendations for video editors, for graphic designers, or even creative strategists. But all of that is to say, I still think that you should give it a shot. making it yourself if you can. Now let's talk about how to make this us versus them format in a 4-step process. Number 1, you're going to set up a clear visual comparison. And I actually like to have the brands that I am advertising for, aka the us, be on the left-hand side, especially if I am advertising to a Western English speaking demographic that reads from left to right, because I want to make sure that my brand, product, or service is the first thing that they see, while the them is on the right-hand side. And this is absolutely something that you can test out, but having clear us versus them language is a great first place to start. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to identify your key differentiators. And you're going to list 3 to 4 specific benefits that make your product a lot better than your competitors. And I'd say focus on the benefits that really solve true pain points. And also prioritize the ones that you have the most evidence for or you get the most feedback from your customers on. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to identify your competitors' weaknesses. So for every single benefit that you have, you're going to identify a correlating weakness. And I'd say a really great way to find this kind of weakness out too is to look at your competitors' reviews and see if there's something that keeps on coming up that is not as favorable for your competitor. And a flag that I'll have here is make sure that you're using factual statements and not something that's super over exaggerated or false, because that's not cool. And then the final thing I would do is to use visual cues to reinforce your message. So something that I like to do is to use these type of emojis to really clearly communicate your benefits versus their weaknesses. It's also using a little bit of color psychology, right? Green equals good, red equals blah. And remember, us versus them ads don't just highlight differences or weaknesses. They actually really do tell a story about why your brand or product is positioned better than what else is out there on the market. And I think it's just really like a good way of like going back to your original brand story. Like, why did you create this product or service? What did you see that was missing out there? The us versus them ad is honestly just another way to help clearly tell that story in a way that seems a little bit more objective. And then the final ad creative that I want to talk about, this is a must try, especially for you founders out there. Honestly, you guys are my favorite people to work with. You're the ones that I am most passionate about helping out there. And I know I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone, but you gotta make some founders ads. Now, I often get asked, hey, what is the right way to make a founders ad? So it's important that you have the right tools, right? An iPhone or a Samsung, doesn't really matter what kind of phone it is, just has to be a good modern phone, and that you have the right shooting settings. I'm going to make sure to post the right shooting settings right up here. And while it is important that you have great audio, I will say a lot of my founders and brands do not use external audio. So if you're doing this for the first time and you think that you have to go on Amazon and buy a microphone, you don't. You do not. Just make sure that you have the fans off, you're doing it in a quieter place, and you can really understand what you're saying, but your message is going to be the most important thing, right? So inside of your founder's ad, you're really going to have to make sure to hit these key things. And I'm actually going to have up on the screen right now a sample script that any brand can use that is actually distilled from hundreds of top performing founders ads that I've researched, as well as on the other side of the screen now, we have the formula for a great founders ad. So you can see here we have a personal introduction. Now, what's really interesting is a lot of strategists will tell me, oh, you shouldn't begin a founders ad with my name is, and I'm the founder of. Actually, I have seen this work again and again, and I think it's as simple as it doesn't signal to be an ad. And it's actually a very genuine type of authentic interaction that's going on with a new user seeing you for the first time. It's like an introduction. You know, when we first start talking to someone out there in the real world, we generally say, hey, my name is, and like, here's what I do. So with that being simulated on your social feed, I think it actually makes a lot of sense for why something like this works. Now, next up, what you're going to have to be sure to explain is the personal problem that you have. Why did you create this brand? Explain it. What was that problem or friction that you had that you got so hyped up that you decided to even make this type of product in the first place? The next part is your turning point. What made you realize that you were the person to create this new solution, or that there was even a solution that could really help you overcome this pain that you were experiencing before? And then, of course, go ham on your solution, go ham on your product. Talk about why you love it. Talk about those features and benefits that make it far better than anything else that is out on the market. And then, of course, share your proof points. How many people have bought it? How many other people love it? How are you changing lives? Also, be sure to mention any guarantees or risk-free offers that you have here. And then, very important, a soft, simple, but genuine call to action. Now, I know that was pretty quick on the founder's ad, but this is an ad format I am super, super passionate about. So if you'd like me to make an in-depth guide for you guys, be sure to let me know, because I would love to make that for you. And that's it. Be sure to let me know in the comments which ad creative you are most excited to test and make out for yourself. And if you have any questions at all, please be sure to let me know or reach out to me on DM. I am so, so passionate about helping out people who are new to this industry really figure it out. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.